All right. Good evening, everybody. Good evening, and welcome to the call for tonight. If you could do me a favor, if you can hear me, please put the letter Y in the question box, and I'll know we are connected. And then we'll get started pretty much right away. So once again, if you can hear me, please put the letter Y in the question box, and then we will get started. Okay, so all right, thank you, Dana. Appreciate that. And then we will get started. Okay, so in order to get started, if you have any questions, while you get your questions ready, you can type them there in the box. What I'm going to do is I'm going to place this link inside of the Facebook group here. And if you have any questions, you can go ahead and put them there in the box. I have a few things that I am going to cover. And let's see, it looks like I've got a question here in the group. So I'm going to put that in here. And let me just kind of say we're live. I've got a question from Greg. And so we'll start with Greg's question. And if anyone else has any questions, we'll get started there also. So any questions that you have, go ahead and write them there in the box. And while you do that, I'm going to copy Greg's question here so we can all see it. And let me grab Greg's question here. And it is, and actually, this is actually a very good question because we were going to cover a little bit of this today. So I'm going to go ahead and just kind of copy this into a notepad file so we'll be able to see it. And I'm going to size this up. I'll go ahead and share my screen with you in just a minute. Let me get this question here so that you can see what his question is. Okay. And I'm going to switch to my presentation. We'll head on over to PowerPoint here. Okay, so you should be able to see my presentation there. What I'm going to do is I'm going to slide Greg's question over there. All right, so Greg's question is, it's almost time. I have a question for you. What is the best and fastest way to use our PLR to make us money? Great question. So I'd actually plan to cover a little bit of that today. So that's actually right in line with what I have here to be presented here, Greg. So I will start with the general, and then I will move to the specific. Okay. So the number one question that I see, whether or not it's in the surveys or whether or not it's in the kind of the comments and the questions that I get from you all, and when I talk to you either by email or by Skype, where do I start with this? So I have this PLR, I have this, I have this stuff that I bought from internet marketers, and so where should I start? And obviously, Greg's question is the most relevant. I mean, when you say where do I start, we're obviously trying to figure out where should I start in order to make money. So what I wanted to talk about here is, so let's say you have nothing going, right? And so you have absolutely nothing going on, but you have stuff, you have skills, you have things you learned how to do, you have things that you know how to do, whether or not you learned how to do it from an information product, or maybe not, maybe you already came to internet marketing, know how to do it. A number of you on this call, and even as I have kind of talked to you, you know how to write. Others of you know how to speak. Others of you know how to teach. Others of you know how to sell. And regardless, there are a lot of ways that you can prime the pump when it comes to PLR and internet marketing. I want to talk about a few of those. And sort of the first thing to kind of think about is focus. And what do I mean by focus? I'm not talking about in the general sense, kind of. I don't mean the general sense. I mean start looking at what's selling. Right. So, and everybody's going to have a different perspective on this, because you're looking at a different piece of internet marketing than probably I am, depending on where you are on social media, depending on what you've purchased, depending on how you came into internet marketing. You want to find out what's selling. So let's say that you are a freelancer. You need to find out what freelancers are getting business, right? If you are a product creator, you want to start by looking at what's selling, because that's where you're most inclined. If you are a CPA marketer, you want to find out what's what's converting, what's making people money. So you start by focusing down, and you don't want to look at all the stuff that maybe at this point may be your passion. You don't even want to necessarily start with necessarily what you like most. Start your process by looking around in your world to look at what is selling. Just start there and kind of focus and start narrowing things down. Now, again, you are going to be able to get to your passion and be able to sell things, but we start with what's selling. And then we sort of have to develop, based on what we have, a USP. In other words, if I start looking at what's selling and I start looking at a USP, what I'm trying to figure out is, what am I doing to put myself in a position to sell? So in other words, where's my unique angle? Where's the angle that's not being covered that I can get in there and cover? Even if I don't know everything, I have to sort of develop this unique selling proposition. And when I say unique selling proposition, I'm going to define this not even the way that I have defined it in the past, more academically. I'm going to define this probably a little more practically. I was listening to a copywriting audio by not by Jay Abraham, but John Carlton. And he says that what you're trying to do with a USP is you're trying to figure out what puts you in a position to sell. In other words, you have to be able to do something different and bring something different to the table that other people are not bringing in order to put you in the position to sell. Right. So what can you do to put yourself in the position to sell? Again, I'm still talking about PLR, because even if you have, let's say you have Facebook PLR, right? And you're trying to figure out, okay, well, where can I sell it? Well, number one, you and I have to figure out, well, what are people buying? What are they talking about? What are they desiring? What do they want to know about? Number two, we've got to figure out the angle that we can approach it, the angle that people are going to listen to us over and above everything else before we formulate a strategy for the stuff that we have. So you sort of want to develop, you definitely want to develop a USP. You want to develop some mastery. So in other words, you and I have to master something, whether it's copywriting in your business right now, right? If I were to ask you, and I'm not talking about what you're working on, what you're getting ready to sell. I'm not talking about what you're producing. I'm talking about right now, what are you mastering? So you are putting yourself in either an even deeper position to develop a USP, because what we want to basically do at some point is we want people to come to us, and we got to have something that we're mastering, even if it's competitive in the marketplace. Right? Let's say you want to go into the Facebook ads market. You want to teach people how to do Facebook ads. Well, we already know there are probably a gazillion people already there. Right? We know that there are already people who've been there. We know that there are people who know how to do probably even more than we could probably ever learn. But if we develop a USP and we develop a mastery in a particular area, there's still a room for us to go into a saturated marketplace, to go into a place where there are already players in the marketplace when we talk about our particular angle that we master more than everybody else, right? So if you don't have anything going on, right, you master something. And I can tell you it's a story. When I when I got started in 2007, right? And one of the things that I knew how to do is I knew how to present. I didn't necessarily know how to sell all that well, but I knew how to present. And so one of the things that I did from 2007 to 2009 is I learned how to do webinars, right? And I learned how to sell. I learned how to look at a computer screen and actually see somebody's face. I think I've said this in the past. When I'm looking at a computer screen as of right now, when I see what I'm presenting on the screen, I can see your face. Now you might say, well, no, you can't see my face. What I'm saying to you is that by the time I had done hundreds and hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of webinars, I can now look at a computer screen and I don't have to physically see your face, but I can see you. And so that comes not necessarily because I'm a great webinar guy or I'm a great professor, whatever the case is. It comes from mastering the craft. It comes from doing hundreds of webinars. It comes from doing something that I had to study, I had to pay to study, and still have to study. So you and I have to be able to master. We have nothing going on. You got to pick one thing and master it. So in other words, you start it with, right, what's selling? What do people want? Second, you develop a different angle. Third, you're mastering something. You're mastering an angle or an approach. If you have nothing going on, right, then one of the things you can do is just assist people. Assist people. That means you can offer a service in order to sell. That means you're selling something, right? You're selling in the area that you mastered. You're selling in the area that you have something that you can deliver. Awesome. Right now, if I were to go and there's one of my friends on here. Her name is Dana. She's an editor. If I were to try to offer editing services, I would just get myself kicked out on a rail. Right? I can't master that service, right? Dana can offer an editing service because she has mastered the art of editing over years, right? And so when you have something and you have nothing else going on, again, before you get going as an internet marketer, start by offering a service because that's going to put you on the radar of people who are already involved in internet marketing. And all you've got to do is get on the inside of one operation. Right, when you can get on the inside of something, let's say you can get on the inside of a launch based on the fact that you know how to do this one thing that not too many know how to do. Right now, it may not have anything to do with internet marketing, but you got on the inside of a launch of a huge marketer because you know how to do this one service. You offer the service. Sometimes you're going to get paid, and sometimes you provide the service and you don't get paid. I've done that. Right, I've done webinars for people and not gotten paid a dime, but I got close to people who at that point were doing things that I wanted to do, but I didn't know how to do, and I didn't know anybody. Right, so one of the things is before you can get to know some of these big affiliates and all the other stuff, sometimes it means getting up next to them. And one of the ways you get up next to them is you take what you have that is awesome and you offer it, and then you get next to it so you can see what's happening from the inside. You know, seeing a launch from the inside early on changed everything for me. You know what? Because some of the stuff behind launches and behind big services and behind software, all you need to see is what really happens. All you need to see is how the sausage gets made. And so sometimes you can do that by providing a service. And again, I'm not talking about developing a service business. I'm saying in order to prime the pump, in order to get something going, in order to kind of jumpstart something, you might have to offer a service so you can get next to somebody who's already involved. Number two, one of the ways to prime a pump, and I say this about every other webinar, and some of you ought to be tired of hearing me say it. You need to teach from a platform, right? Start teaching what you know, and you don't have to have a lot of people coming to your thing. Start a Facebook group, start a webinar. And you might say, now, nobody even knows when to come to my webinar. You'd be surprised who's going to come to your webinar. Start doing one. Start a podcast, right? Get a Blog Talk Radio account. Start a podcast. Well, I don't know who to interview. Interview the people you know, right? Interview the people who are experts in the area that you want to be in. Start by interviewing them, or just get on just get on your podcast and wax eloquent. Right? Just get on the pod. You know, there were times early on when I did a podcast and I didn't know anybody and I didn't even know if I liked to interview. So I just got on, I just talked, I just emptied out my brain. Right? And sometimes that can work in order to get something going. And before you know it, when you start teaching on a platform, what's going to happen is somebody is going to stop and they're going to listen to you. And the reason they're going to stop and listen to you is because you resonate with them. Right? If you start, let's say you start a video log, right? It doesn't matter what the platform is. You pick the one that you can do. You pick the one that you can do every other day if you have to. You pick the one that you could do easily every day if you had to do it. Some of you all are bloggers and writers. Now, you know, I like to write, but I'm not, you know what? I can't blog. Something about blogging every day that just doesn't do it for me. Right? I'd rather take my email that I write every day and turn that into a blog post rather than to write every day. And so you've got to teach from a platform, and it doesn't matter what the platform is, but if you have nothing going on, one of the ways to get something started, to get organic people opting into your list, to get organic people who like what you're saying, who like how you say it, you and I have to start doing something. Pick the niche that you want to be in, focus on it, master something, and then start teaching what you know from a platform, any platform, the one that works best for you. Now, publish something, right? Publish something. Write, and now this is writing, right? This is, I mean, and now it's easier than ever before. And I'm not saying everybody needs to write a Kindle book. Actually, I am kind of saying that. At some point, you need to have a book about something. It doesn't have to be long. But it needs to be something. Now, why do I say publish something? Number one, as soon as you publish something, it's been said, and most of you who are internet marketers, you've already heard this. You don't make more money as a result of your book. In other words, the book's not going to make you money. But here's what's going to happen: you're going to get notoriety because of the book. Right? A book says something about you. It means you're in the game. Right? It means then that you need to be taken a little more seriously than somebody else who doesn't have one on the same subject. Publish something, right? What do you know about? Whatever you know about, publish something, right? If you're involved in a niche, publish something. Sometimes you can publish something as little as 15,000 words. And if you were to write 1,000 words over the next 15 days, 500 words over the next 30 days, you'd have something in the general ballpark that you could have published, right? Publish something. If you have nothing else going on, launch. Right? Launch. Seriously. Now, you know, number one thing, if you have a PLR product, launch something. Now, you might say, now, you know, I don't know a lot of big affiliates. That's not important. What I have talked about on this call, what I talked about in the 30-day challenge is still true. The launch method of building a few customers at a time, right? Maybe the first couple of launches you do, you're not going to get any customers. Right? Nobody's going to buy it. But what's going to happen is that eventually you're going to get a sale or two. Even if nobody knows about you, somebody's going to buy your product because they're curious. Go over, get yourself a Warrior Plus account and launch something. Go over to JVZoo, get yourself a JVZoo account and launch something. Launch something on ClickBank. Launch something, right? Get something, empty out your brain, put it into a video course, and then launch it. Right? Put something in motion. Develop a vertical funnel, a horizontal funnel, and then snowball. What do I mean by that? Vertical funnel means basically when I buy something from you, you develop the upsell and the second upsell. So in other words, you develop the front end product, you develop the back end, which is something that's going to help me to enjoy that front end product. And then you're going to develop the second upsell, which is going to be something that's going to help me to maintain what I got from the first one, right? From the front end. So remember, the front end product is basically the entry level. Number two, right? The upsell is going to be, how do I enjoy it more? How do I enjoy it faster? How do I get better results quickly? Right? The second upsell is, how do I maintain those results? Maybe you're talking about a membership site. Maybe you're talking about some kind of continuity, but you're launching something with a vertical funnel. You are also developing a horizontal funnel. So in other words, remember now, if I buy something from you and it's the YouTube master, what comes next? Right? Well, next should come next is the Vimeo master. Right? And once I do that, then it should be the Amazon Video Direct Master. So in other words, you should be developing vertical and horizontal funnels. Vertical funnels so that when I buy something from you at a particular point in time, I can go to the next step. Horizontal funnels so I can develop at the next logical level. Right? So there's a whole science to vertical and for horizontal funnels, but a horizontal funnel is a business funnel. In other words, it's product after product after product after product. Basically, what you're doing is you're developing a product snowball. So a product snowball means this. I buy something from you, you sell something and you get 2 buyers the first time. Not too cool. Second time you launch, you get 10 buyers. The 2 that bought from you before liked you so much, they bought it the next time, and then other people find out about you. Then you got 10 sales. You do the 3rd product, and then 5 of those folks who got the first product, they go and buy the 3rd product. And what happens is the more that you do it, the more consistent you are, the more that you start to build out a vertical and horizontal funnel, what happens is people come back and they buy from you again because they like the way you say it. They like the way you do it. They like the way you do it. Maybe they might come to my sales page and they might say, man, this dude bores me. But the way you say it is the way they like it. Now, here's where PLR comes in. PLR, you use, listen, if you're trying to crank out and you're trying to put together multiple products, that is what you use your PLR for. PLR is raw material in order to create these vertical and horizontal funnels. You don't have an upsell for your product, grab some of your PLR, combine it and build it into something that's going to be that second upsell. Combine it and build it into something that's going to become that horizontal funnel. You already done something on YouTube, but you don't have anything for Vimeo. Go get some PLR on it so you can build out your horizontal funnel. Again, what you're doing is you are doing these things in order to prime the pump, in order to get something going. You are going to then start promoting yourself. Now, some of you are probably, you might be coming from the corporate world, or you're coming from a world where it was not too cool to be talking about yourself. And again, I'm not talking about bragging about yourself. I'm not talking about humble bragging, right? I'm talking about letting everybody know what you do. When you go to, some of you all go to PTA meetings, right? And does everybody know you do internet marketing? Right? When you go to your dinner parties with your friends, right? If you have a spouse, if you go with your spouse, you go to a dinner party, does everybody know what you do? If they don't, they need to know. And you don't have to be all up in their face. Well, I do internet. No, that's not the way I'm saying. Somebody asks you what's going on, start talking about what you do. The reason is when you start talking about internet marketing, I don't know what the statistics are. I'm going to say 1 out of every 4 people is going to say, you know what? I need I've been thinking about trying to do something like that. Can you help me with that? Right now, I'm not saying it's always going to turn into a paid client, but everybody in your universe, everybody needs to know what you do because they can talk to other people. And what happens is they go to places, they say, hey, you know what? I know this guy who does videos, right? He does videos on Microsoft Excel. Let me call him up. That's what happens. It happens all the time. And if you don't have anything else going on, it's a way to prime the pump. It's a way to get something going. So you promote yourself online, promote yourself offline, and also don't be afraid to promote yourself through media. Now, I want to talk about something right now that I'm hoping will be interesting to you. Because I saw it in the post in a group, and some of you all are probably in this group. So if you saw it already, just kind of bear with me. And so what I'm going to do is give you the condensed version. I'm going to tell you a little story about a retiree who started internet marketing at age 75. How many of you all thought you were too old for internet marketing? You're not, right? How many of you all thought you were too young for internet marketing? You're not. How many of you all think you're too busy for internet marketing? You're not. How many of you all think you got started too late? Nope, you're not. Here's somebody who had already retired and he started internet marketing at the ripe old age of 75. Now this dude's still going pretty good. He's probably in better shape than I am. He's a retiree. Now here's what happened. He got started. He bought a Kindle information product. Now, I want you to not get too focused on Kindle right now, because Kindle's not the point of this. So he bought this Kindle information product, just like we buy information products. He bought this thing. He said, okay, I'm going to buy this thing, and then I'm going to see what I can do with it, right? So he did what we do, right? He got in, he read the thing, he watched the videos, he followed the instructions. And then I say purchase, he published. I shouldn't say purchase, he published. He published a how-to book, right? He published a how-to book. And so he went on Kindle, he did everything that the thing said. And guess what? So how many sales do you think he had with his first book, if you were to guess? So anybody can write in there. So if I were to ask you, how many sales do you think he got the first time? So he followed all the instructions. He did everything that the book said. He did everything the video course said. And then he put his Kindle book out there. How many think sales he got? The first book he published, he got 0 sales, right? Now, how about that for encouragement? Right, Clifton, exactly, got 0, right? So here's what happened. The next year, right, he sat down, he did it again. I said purchased, and I mean published. He published a fiction book, right? So he went from a how-to book, but he's still using the same information product. He published a fiction book. So how many sales did the guy get this time? This time, the guy got 0 sales. All right. So this is not sounding encouraging at this point. So he had 0 sales. So then after this, he then came back 1 month later, and he published a specific, he got specific, right? He started focusing. He started getting into a specific niche. So he picked a specific fiction niche. And it was the fiction niche that at that time, everybody said, hey, if you're going to really make money in internet marketing, this is the niche. Oh, this is the niche you got to write in. Everybody's making money in this niche. This is the one you got to do. You got to just follow the instructions and get inside of this niche. This is what the guy did. And so what happened is that book had how many sales? 0. All right. So he did everything everybody told him. He got focused. He got in a niche that everybody said you had to be in order to make money. The guy made 0 sales, right? So then, so here's what happened, right? Here's what happened. 1 month later, he published a follow-up to that book, right? So he published a sequel to that book. So what do you think? How many sales did he make for that one? So the first book didn't make much sales. He did the follow-up one later, right? And then that book had 0 sales, right? So you might say, now what happened, right? What happened? Then 6 months later, he published a specific niched fiction book. That book had 0 sales. And then while all this is happening, here's what's happening while all this is going on. He's buying stuff, he's reading stuff, and he's watching how to be successful in this one area, Kindle. Right? So here's what he's doing. He's reading everything he can get his hands on. He is trying to figure out what's happening. He's trying to master this process. He's trying to get a handle on what he's doing right and so he's reading, he's buying, he's doing everything. He's watching everything he can on Kindle. Now he's not all over the place now, right? He's now just kind of focused. He's in deep, right? Because this has been going on for 2 years or so. So now here's what's happening. So here's what he decided to do. He then decides, okay, you know what? Here's what I'm going to do. I'm about fed up with this. So I'm going to start writing about what I spent my first 75 years doing before internet marketing. Right? So he decided what he's going to write about is the thing he knows the best inside and out. So he took that book, and he took that knowledge and turned it into a fiction book. Now, what do you think his worry was? Right? When he wrote this, what do you think he was worried about? So if I had to ask you, what were his concerns? What were his fears at that point when he went out there with that? What do you think? What was his what would be his objection when he went out with that? Anybody, what do you think he would be scared of when he got out there with this? Right? If I were to ask you, what would you be concerned about? If I were to ask you, if you got out there, you said, okay, I'm going to now do the stuff I know best. I'm going to turn it into a fiction book, and I'm going to put that out there. What would you be worried about? Right now, I'll tell you what he was worried about. He was worried that the market was too saturated. right? Because he was now in a niche where there were some, I mean, these were like so the people he was competing against were the Stephen Kings of the world and all that stuff, right? He was worried that it was littered with more seasoned players, right? And right, Clifton, he was worried about no sales and rejection, and the sales and rejection would come as a result of there being all these people out there. The market was saturated. So he wrote about the thing he spent his life doing. He decided to write fiction, but he followed the same system that he had been following all the other times he did not make a sale. He followed the same system. Okay. And here you want to know what's happening with this guy now? As of right now, since he published that book, he has not failed to have a 4-figure month in passive income since that time. Not one. And so when you start thinking about this, there are some lessons here, right? There are some lessons in terms of getting something started and getting it moving. Number one. Now I want to ask you, is the point about Amazon Kindle. So I don't want everybody running out and going to get a Kindle product so you can try to start doing Kindle. That's not the point. The point is about buying more information products. It might be, but it's probably not. Is this about, you know what? I know what it is, Charles. It's that it takes 2 or 3 years to get going. That may or may not be true, right? So it's not about how long it takes. The point is a cumulative effect of your actions. Cumulative effect. So in some cases, it will be the cumulative effect. When you actually start to see sales come, it'll be because of the cumulative effect of your actions. Every successive time that you actually act. What I mean by acting is you launch something. What I mean by acting is you ask somebody to buy your service. What I mean by that is that you put something out there for sale. You ask an affiliate if they would promote for you. Every successive time that you act, you're actually learning the real thing. What all the information product does is open up your brain. It is the action you take. And I'm not talking about, well, just take action. That's not what I mean. What I mean is focusing in on that result, on the market you want, focusing in on, remember what this guy did. At some point, he was in deep with Kindle, and so he kept doing Kindle. Look, a lot of you are already focused in PLR. So now what it's time to do is it's time to start getting the PLR you have and focusing on a market, developing an angle, and then pointing that PLR toward the angle. Right now, and what I mean by that, see, every time you get out there, right? Every time you put something for sale out there, some people are going to buy it, some people are not. Sometimes you're going to have stuff, nobody's going to buy it. Every time you do that, you're getting real feedback, right? It's real feedback. Somebody's saying, you know what? This was not exciting enough. They're saying, you know what? There was not enough value in this for me to buy from you right now. And so what it might mean is you might need to add more value, because when the value is huge and the money you're asking is small, people will buy. Right. And so what you and I have to do, and I'm not talking about stuff. I'm not talking about heft. Right. I'm not talking about pounding more stuff inside of things. Now, that was sort of what I thought it was when I first got started. Well, if I just, when I did my first membership site, I just put everything I had in it. I put just everything I had in it. I put everything in there. Right. It's sold, but that wasn't the point. The point in selling is going to be the value. Right now, you don't have to be a great salesperson when you have massive value and the money you're asking for that value is very small. Right. That's the key. Right. Massive value, money you're asking is very small. And so here's what happens when you see your market, see your niche, you think, well, you know what, if I tried to do what that guy did, that wouldn't happen for me. Right? Something different would happen. So our brains are already hardwired to think it won't happen. But the point is that you focus on applying a system, you get the feedback, you make changes, you go back and do it again. So when you launch your first product, right, whether you use PLR to make it up or you don't, launch your first product, you get feedback. Well, nobody bought from this. Why did people not buy? Find out. Then go back, launch again. And again, remember, this guy did this over 2 years, right? 2 years. Now, I would argue maybe he should have published something between there, right? But maybe, maybe he had a life event. I don't know. But the point of this is that at this point, it's giving him passive income, right, in 4 figures. But it took the cumulative effect of his actions. Right now, when you get to wherever it is you're going, now here's the thing about saturated markets, and why you and I don't need to worry about saturated markets. We need to worry about is our USP. Right? If you have a USP and you're mastering something and you just continue to keep going, the product snowball is really all the product snowball is that you keep launching. Right? And you might see myself, well, God, isn't this guy tired of launching? It ain't about that. It's about building your list. It's about continuing to get feedback. What a launch is feedback. Right? You know what? They didn't buy from me. Why not? Right? So add something else the next time. Then you're either going to have more buyers. Well, the problem might be your copy. So get a copywriter. Well, then the copy, you fix the copy, and then you start fixing the value, and then you start continually fixing things until you're making sales in the area, right? Sometimes all it is making sure that you're getting a little feedback, right? Getting a little feedback. Sometimes you need the feedback ahead of time. And if you are at that point, I'm going to suggest that you check out our coaching program. I mean, every Thursday night at 8:30 to 9:30, that's what I do. That's what I do. I give you feedback. And it's not going to be something where you have a dumb question, right? That was the number one problem I had when I got started. I felt my questions are dumb, and I didn't really have anybody in a private environment I could trust to ask. And so that is what my coaching program is really all about. Every Thursday night we meet once an hour, right? An hour each week. Now, yes, I do provide one PLR a month. I do provide a learning library. I do provide personal use content. I do provide other PLR. There's a ton of stuff in there, but the main thing is that you are getting feedback, right? You're getting feedback from me as well as feedback from the other people in the group. Okay, any questions? Any questions on anything else we covered tonight? Any questions? Okay, any questions? If you have questions, go ahead and write them there in the box. Any questions at all? Any questions? What we like to do on these calls is really just kind of cover the things that would kind of keep you from a breakthrough. Now, one of the things that I think that Carl is, well, how do I get started with PLR? How would I put PLR into what I talked about? Well, the point is going to be, what market are you closest to right now, right? Are you closest to people who are, let's say they're in their mid 40s, right? Those are the people you have on social media. Maybe you're in a meetup group in your local area. Who are you close to? Maybe you have a Facebook group. Who are those people in the group? What kind of stuff are they talking about? Find out what it is they want. Focus on the things they're already buying, and then take your PLR, angle it, refocus it so that it fits the thing that people are asking about. It's a little bit like having a spear, right? And so the PLR is actually the shaft, and what you're doing is you are taking the tip of the spear, and the tip of the spear is where you decide where the spear goes and how it hits the person, right? And you're trying to figure out what they actually need. Right? So PLR can be anything. You can take PLR on YouTube, take PLR on Facebook, but what you have to do is figure out the gap between where the PLR is and where the people are, and what they want. What are they asking for? What do they want to know? And you are going to make it unique enough so that they can get the thing they actually want. Right? That's what you're doing. Okay? So any questions? Any questions at all? Any questions? Any questions at all? Any questions? If you have any questions for next time, feel free to go ahead and write them in there. And make sure you join our Facebook group at facebook.com/groups/the PLR show. Okay, and we'll look forward to seeing you over there. Okay. Any questions? Any questions at all? If you haven't seen it, I did put out that a really cool thing. A guy named Darren Ross. He lives here in Central PA with me. He's got white label audio that he's selling. So if you know people that buy, they're doing their own videos, or they are buying, content. They're buying music, right? Royalty-free music is what people need to use. So they don't get in trouble, right? People are all, borrowing music and, getting music from the Beatles and all that stuff, putting in their videos. That they're asking for a bruising, right? And getting a takedown notice and all that stuff. These are the people you need to be selling to, right? People who are doing their own little things for their, for their organization, or they're doing their own little thing for their business, and they're going to get this music, and they don't even know about royalty free. They say, well, there's a problem with that. Look, these are the people that you need to be selling to. Right. So you pick up Darren. I've got some bonuses over there. Yeah. But the folks who need that stuff, everybody who's doing marketing for their own business right now, they need this this royalty-free music, and you can be the one to sell it to them by picking up the PLR over there at superfastactionbonus.com/Darren, right? /Darren. Tonight's the last night for the digital nomad. So if you're picking that up over at midnight, you can get that tonight up until midnight at the launch price. Okay, everybody. Well, that's been about it. I certainly appreciate you. Hope that this has been very helpful to you. And once again, if you have any questions, feel free. Let's see. Bob's question. Bob, what are your number one favorite resources for tools like autoresponders? Great question. Okay, so Bob, my number one resource. Okay, I use Aweber for email, right? So, and I've had Aweber since 2007. I have 5 autoresponders. The one I rely on the most is Aweber, and what I would say about Aweber is, yes, all autoresponders have problems. If you stick with one long enough, you figure out how to work through the problems. I've worked through a really bad patch with Aweber. But one of the things that I learned how to do is sort of how to work with Aweber to write the content, right? One of the reasons now, I probably just like to write this kind of stuff anyway, emails, but Aweber is kind of fits the way I do things. So Aweber's for autoresponder. When it comes to a paging system, I am a partner in Genius Marketing Pro, right, which is a page building system. I personally use WordPress more than I use a cloud-based system. So I personally use OptimizePress, right? And I know that there are lots of sexy page builders out there, really a lot more sexy page builders than the one I have. OptimizePress, I've invested, once again, here's what I'm talking about. I've invested years in learning how to do OptimizePress, years. And so I'm not just going to switch, even if something is cool. And, OptimizePress, they just did a recent update and a whole lot of other stuff. So I would say OptimizePress for my page builder. For hosting, right? For hosting, I use a virtual private server. And the reason I use a virtual private server is because when I first got started in internet marketing, I thought everybody had one. So I never bought hosting a la carte. I thought everybody got hosting through a virtual private server. So I don't know if I would suggest everybody do that. You start out paying $50 a month for hosting, because for a long time I wasn't even using it. Right. So I bought, but I have not had nearly as much downtime using my host as other people have had. I will say that. Now, knock on wood, of course, but I've not nearly had as much downtime. So I use a virtual private server from the company Servant, right? And for my hosting. In terms of a membership script, I personally use something that I've been using since 2009 called Rapid Action Profits. And I wouldn't even recommend that today. Once again, I've got 5 years into it, incredibly complicated. and I had to wrestle the thing to the ground. I would not recommend it. What I would recommend is I would recommend wish list member at about 277, or depending on sort of what you want to do, you can use something called Membersonic, right? Membersonic. Let me see. I'm trying to think of what else I really use. For my webcam, right? For my webcam, I use the Logitech 930E. The Logitech 930E has all the resources running in the side of the camera, as opposed to running inside of your PC. That means then that it use fewer computer resources when I have to do streaming video. Then the camera is not going to hog up the bandwidth and cause me to have distortion. So the Logitech 930E. For my headset, I use the Plantronics 355 headset. I've been using it for more like 6 years, and I would not use another headset. It is a headset that plugs into the stereo jack. Now I do that because I basically don't want to have again, my bandwidth taken up, right? I don't want to have my bandwidth taken up. So I use this headset, right? This headset plugs into the stereo jack, right? This plugs into the stereo jack, so it doesn't use the resources of the computer again. So when I'm live streaming, I have less likely to have latency. Now, I may have latency, but I use those things because I'm not going to have latency when I do a live streaming. Trying to think of what else I can say that I use every day. I'm a big believer in Skype. I'm growing to learn messenger.com. I don't like being in Facebook all the time. It is a time suck, dramatic time suck. So I spend a lot of time. I have an account at messenger.com, which is pretty much Facebook, but I don't have to be in Facebook in order to talk to people. So I use messenger.com. I'd have to think about, and flat off the top, more than anything else, Camtasia Studio, right? Camtasia Studio. There are lots of programs that do what Camtasia Studio does. I understand that. I would not use I would not use any other substitute program other than Camtasia Studio. If you had Camtasia Studio, this headset, and a laptop, that's really all you need, right? It's really all you need. Lastly, I would say that I can't show this to you here, but I prefer to use a laptop here, a 1920 by 1080 screen here, and the 1360 by 7. So I prefer to use 3 screens, right? I may go to a 4th, and I can tell you that your productivity does go up when you have a 3rd screen, especially if you do a lot of video. This webinar that I did tonight, I could have my presentation over here. I can kind of look at you and see what's happening on my questions right here. I can see what's coming next on the slides here, and all 3 screens are in motion. So a 3rd screen is yeah. Dana just got Camtasia 9. It's awesome, right? And as a matter of fact, you don't even have to. I think you can use it on the Mac, and you can use it on the what is it on PC, right? I now shoot. I will say this: I now shoot all video. Now I have a camera that shoots 1920 by 1080. I have an iPhone 6. This iPhone 6 I'm using to shoot all video, right? All video, right? So I no longer shoot video with my video camera. I shoot it with my iPhone, and I actually have a connection so that my iPhone can be hardwired. So, for example, I'm the person that does the live stream for my church tomorrow. So when I do that live stream, I'm actually going to be hardwired to the internet through my iPhone, right? So again, now this is a switch for me. I have a video camera, right? That's my preference. When I do a live workshop, I still prefer to use that camera, but I'm switching everything over to a live thing. And I have this other little thing right here that and then I'll let you guys go. This is a wireless hotspot. Okay, so when I have to do a presentation out, right, I have to do something at the chamber. Sometimes internet is extra, right? So the way that I can make sure that I can do that is, and these are so cheap now. So you don't have to worry about whether or not the room has all of that stuff. Okay, landing page, opt-in page, thank you page, membership site, Optimize Press. Optimize Press. That just, yeah, that's what I use every day. I say I'm a partner in Genius Marketing Pro. I have been using Optimize Press though for years. So without hesitation, that is what I use personally every day. If you decide to, if you're looking at Optimize Press, Bob, talk to me first. Right. So if anybody is thinking that they're gonna get a paging system, you're gonna get Optimize Press, what I'll do is I will in the notes for this show, in the Facebook group, I will put my link for Optimize Press, and then I will do a training for anybody that does buy Optimize Press. Right now, I'm not promoting Optimize Press. I like I said, I do believe it. Oh, my microphone. This is a Plantronics 355. Plantronics 355. It plugs into the stereo jack. So it is not USB. I do not want a USB microphone at this point. I may be forced to do it at some point. And again, if I run it through USB, there's always that possibility that there's going to be latency. And so I'm old school. Having that microphone jack plugged into the stereo jack means that this is going to be I don't run the risk of having that fade out, right? I run less of a risk for that. Yeah, you're welcome, James. Any other questions? Any other questions? I'm glad to hear that, Dana. Yeah, I have just found it to be reliable. The headset. The sound is good for videos, good for talking on Skype, good for, I use Skype as my phone. So, I mean, people just think I'm on the phone. So, yeah, it's cool thing. Glad to hear that, Dana. By the way, one of the folks on my call, she's been coming for a little while now, and I like to give her a little shout out here. Dana is an editor. And so if you've got your stuff and you need an editor, Dana, I want you to put your website here. Put your website out here in the public feed. So, and then you have, where people can find out about your pricing and all the other stuff. So if you could put a link there, guys, talk to Dana. She's been editing for a little bit. I think she's got a little she's got a group over there, and so she's kind of she's that person, right? So hook up with her if you got stuff you need to have edited. So Dana, if you go ahead and put that link out there, that'd be great. Okay, any other questions? Any other questions? Okay, everybody. Well, thank you very much for being here. I appreciate you all. Have a great night and pleasant tomorrow. Take care.